30, October 8th, 2025, and we call this meeting of the GRU Authority to order. The first item on the agenda is roll call. Chair Eric Lawson.
Here.
Vice Chair David Haslam.
Here.
Director Jack Jacobs.
Here.
Director Robert Skinner.
Here.
Next, we have invocation and pledge of allegiance.
Father God, thank you for bringing us together tonight for hopefully a peaceful conversation about utility. Father, I would like your blessing over everyone and just keep everybody on the same page tonight. It's in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next, we have adoption of the agenda. This includes consent and regular agenda items.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to adopt the agenda, which includes the consent and regular agenda items.
I will second that.
We have a motion and a second. Public comment on the agenda.
Mr. Chair, Jim Conish, I'd like you to shock me and take one thing I tell you into consideration. I will be there October 20th and ask that the Johnson bill, which has been included in the workbook, be taken up. Sir, I do not understand why you do not have a legislative agenda. I do not understand why you do not have a powerful Tallahassee lobbyist like you would use in a certificate of need case like the Florida Hospital Association has for their legislative agenda, Florida Medical Association. You know who they are, sir. Not to take anything from Mr. Walker, but he's not a part of the fourth branch of the state of Florida. And you need to get your appointments made in conformity with the provisions in the charter. You need a lot of things from the state of Florida, sir, because you're just dangling by a thread up there legally. You're in no man's land. It's a quagmire. You need to bring this to a swift resolution. We cannot afford years and years and years of multi-million-dollar litigation and confusion and uncertainty, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no other public comment on the agenda, back to the board for approval. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
Thank you. Next, we have approval of minutes. That's the minutes from the GRUA meeting held on September 10th, 2025.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes as written.
Second.
We have a motion and second. Public comment on approval of the minutes. Seeing as now no public comment, back to the board for approval. All say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Next, we have chair comments.
So one of the responsibilities of the board is to do the CEO's annual evaluation. And I first want to thank all the board members for taking time and going through that process and completing the evaluation, as well as spending time with Ed and providing your comments. I would like to, at this time, invite Ms. McBride up to review a summary of all of our evaluations. And then once that's done, I will open the floor up to the other board members for any additional comments. And then I'd like to have a discussion about Mr. Bolarski's annual merit increase, which is our responsibility to decide.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and board members. I'm Cheryl McBride, Chief People Officer. So again, thank you for all of you getting your performance evaluations for Mr. Bolarski done and those submitted to my office. I have briefly summarized your comments, and we'll share those with you now to open a discussion if you want to have further discussion about his performance. So you evaluated him in several areas, the first being honor mission and values. He was collectively scored a 4.5 out of 5, and comments are that his leadership was noted as having a clear alignment with GRU's mission to provide safe, reliable, cost-effective, and environmentally friendly energy. and there were a number of key accomplishments cited. The next topic area was communicates with impact. He scored a 4.75 there. Comments exceptional strength in communication supported by deep institutional knowledge and a longstanding history with GRU. One of the members believes that Mr. Bilarski's responses to public issues, particularly on social media, are generally appropriate. Another member noted concern about the tone of the personal social media post. Another topic was lead and develop others. He scored a 4.25 collectively, with comments that he actively fosters talent development by involving subordinates in board presentations and encouraging their growth. His strategic recruitment of key personnel has enhanced GRU's capabilities. These are not all of the comments, but the highlights of your comments together. Another area, achieved success through change. He scored a 4.75. He's implemented a series of changes that have significantly improved GRU's operational and financial health. A couple of areas cited were hiring a chief people officer to revamp HR exclusively for GRU and hiring a GRU-focused attorney. We've seen reduction in vacancy rates to pre-pandemic rates. He eliminated unfavorable legacy commitments such as the T agreement. Another area is drive execution and financial results. You all together scored him a 5 in this area, with comments that he's delivered strong financial leadership marked by a clear and effective debt repayment strategy, which has contributed to stabilized bond ratings, and notably these results were accomplished without raising electric rates. The last area, service and quality excellence. GRU earned FMEA's Reliability Award, a testament to the organization's operational strength. And while we have some service delays that persist, complaints are addressed promptly. His commitment to affordability is reflected in the rate freeze that we have in place, and his customer-first approach continues to guide GRU's performance and priorities. For overall performance, he scored a 4.5, has successfully implemented the strategic vision, yielding positive outcomes in debt reduction and cost-effective improvements across GRU. He's recognized as a valuable asset to the authority and demonstrates strong leadership and transparency in the organization. His management of the utility has been commendable. So that's a summary of your comments. There were additional comments, but I will leave it there and open it to a discussion for the board.
Thank you, Cheryl. Does anyone have any questions for Cheryl before we let her sit down? Thank you so much for all your hard work on that. And so I'd like to just say that I think working with Ed over the last year has been phenomenal. He has demonstrated operational excellence as well as a focus on our financial stability. He has, not only has he delivered on achieving a very difficult budget, he's also achieved the lowest vacancy rate among the workforce within GRU since pre-pandemic, as well as the lowest headcount in the last 15 years. So he's executed on multiple prongs, I think, within the operations of the organization. So one of the responsibilities of the board is to determine the annual merit increase. But before we have a discussion about that, are there any additional comments that any board members would like to make publicly?
Yeah, my only comment, I guess, is more for the board because we're not allowed to talk outside of here. The thing about somebody feeling that he's a little strong on social media, he gets attacked in here personally. There's always at least one or two people that like say horrible stuff that isn't true and out of context. And then also he's getting attacked even on his personal social media that I've seen, saying things that are just obscene. He's got to respond to this stuff, number one. And number two, he's the only real advocate that we have to set the record straight, because there's so much, I know the word is misinformation, there's just so many lies out there by members of the public, maybe one particular commissioner that lies a whole lot, and he's got to set that stuff straight, unfortunately. maybe, you know, I'm sure there's people that, oh, he brings it upon himself. Well, no, he's just doing his job, and he's doing it good, so I think the tone's necessary most times, personally. So, that's it.
Let me say that in doing that, I kind of encouraged him to maybe go through the PIO more, is because I think he's a face of GRU that some people, they're just not going to believe anything he says because it's coming from Ed Bylarski.
Yeah.
So perhaps maybe, you know, get a PIO involved or somebody. You know, I know it's hard for him because he has all the information and the knowledge. He knows the history and the background. It's clearly evident. But maybe perhaps involve somebody to help him out with the social media that's, you know, we can make it the face of GRU and communicate with the public without, you know, people attacking him personally, you know?
Yeah, I would agree, and I would also say, Ed, a lot of people think that you have sour grapes. I commend you for working with those across the street, no matter how much they attack you and come after you, whether it's a commissioner, but you have stayed the course. You've remained professional with the city manager, as well as the incoming city manager, and the commissioners for the most part. So I know there's a couple out there that I agree with you. They are difficult to work with and listen to, and, you know, take their criticism for what it is, because most of it is misinformation or, you know, borderline on full blown out lies. So I do commend you on that.
Ed, would you like to make any comments before we have a discussion on?
No.
Thank you. So it's my understanding that the budget for merit increases for GRU is 3%. Historically, when the CEO or general manager was executing at a high level, previous city commissions have given the 3% annual merit increase. And so I'd like to throw that open to any additional discussion on what you all feel like his annual merit should be. One of the things I would like to add is that at some point next year, every organization looks at sort of market values for all of their job positions. And that is a common process that the Human Resource Department does. And I think that at some point next year, the board should take that up with Cheryl to do an evaluation of the CEO position. I don't think now's the right time because of all that's going on with House Bill 1645 and all those issues. Once that is settled, I think we should circle back and have a discussion about, you know, is he in market or is he not in market? But at this time, it's up to us to determine what is an appropriate annual evaluation. And I would also add, I believe that it should have been effective in June. And so whatever we approve, I would recommend that we retrospect that back to June. So any comments?
So just beating everybody to the punch, there's going to be the people that are going to say that he's already the highest city employee in Gainesville, highest paid city employee in Gainesville. And whether that's true or not, he's also the only city employee that actually generates revenue. You know what I mean? So none of the other ones are generating revenue. They're all paid off of just strictly tax dollars, is my understanding. So anything we do increase is, you know, on the backs of GRU and the profit of GRU, frankly. So before anybody says that he's the highest paid employee, we understand that, but he's also the one generating cash, the only one generating cash that I'm aware of. So.
And I would say that that's the comparison really should be about other utility
100%,
executives.
100%.
And-
Yeah, yeah. I know there's a small thinking process that seems to go on sometimes.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I would second your thoughts on. I would definitely like to see I've done a little research on my own, trying to look at the other 33 or 35 municipalities that in Florida and see where he stands amongst those other CEOs in relation to pay scale and stuff. I wasn't, you know, on the board when they first established his pay. And when I talked to him the other day, honestly, I said, if I were you, I wouldn't even worry about getting a raise and refuse it because it's just going to be a headache. Everyone's going to say, oh, you're giving a raise. That being said, I'm not opposed to giving them something commensurate with cost of living with the employees and with the employees. But at this time, you know, excuse me, at this time, you know, there's a lot going on, like you said, with the House bill and where we're going to be at. And I think it'd be more appropriate at that time to really solidify what we think his salary should be commensurate to his abilities.
Yeah, I agree with everything that you said. I think 3% was something that's reasonable, knowing that we're going to get beat up, Ed's going to get beat up. But his institutional knowledge, the support that he's given to us, the knowledge that he's been able to provide to us, none of us are in the utility industry. If it wasn't for Ed being transparent and answering our questions when we ask them, we would never get the information to be functional. We'd be spinning our wheels. So I would be in favor of the 3% with us looking at the future, because I too did some research. So Jack, we were having a mind meld there. So I would be in favor of that.
Does anyone want to make a motion?
Just let me, just so I'm clear, I know he should have mentioned 3%. What's the, or is there any type of cost of living going to the employees? A standard cost of living for 3%? Because I'd like to keep his in commensurate with what the rest of the employees are receiving.
Ms. McBride, would you like to answer that?
Yes, we've budgeted a total of 3% for pay increases, inclusive of, they're actually merit increases. Pay increases this year are based on merit and no cost of living included.
So not all employees will be receiving that?
Anyone who scores a 3 or acceptable or higher will receive at least, will receive a pay increase.
And that's 3 out of 5, like we did with Ed, correct? Okay.
Correct, yes, 3 out of 5.
We used the same scale.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
So 3% is the total amount budgeted.
It's sort of wrapped in together. Cost of living and merit are, it's all.
And that's the way the city does it as well, from my past experience. So.
If I could add, the pool of money is 3% of wages, and then based on your score, you can get above or below that, but that's the pool of money that everything is drawn from. So you can have folks that are getting, depending on their scores, you can get more, whereas, like Ms. McBride said, it can be lower if your ratings are lower.
All right, so, well, I mean, it's not we're supposed to operate as a non-political body and as a business body. So with that being said, that I would make a motion that we increase the CEO's salary by 3% annually.
I will second.
We have a motion and a second. Public comment.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Bolarski pointed out that the bills have gone down $30 since this authority was created. Well, sir, the realignment of the tiers only saves $4.05 if you're at 1,000. If you're over $1,450, it goes out without limit. This tier change raised one bill of mine by $33. Moreover, the garbage carts that are tied in, my garbage cart went up by $16.75. My stormwater went up by $60. You eliminated the GRU winter max for wastewater. You don't take into account the county surcharge. You don't take into account of the pyramid of the taxes. And this, sir, is one big false and misleading statement designed to make you look better than you really are. And that's what Mr. Bolarski does all the time when he can't recognize SLA losses for the problem that they constitute. Mr. Bolarski, after paying $750 million for the biomass plant, increased utility plant and service by over $800,000 because he rolled in the $75 million in closing costs. The plant is not worth that amount of money. He has admitted publicly that it's not worth that amount of money. There's some undisclosed penalty to exit the biomass PPA that he did not bring about. But that's included as asset value, and it's not asset value, sir. So as with the SLA losses, there are fundamental false and misleading representations being made to bondholders, rating agencies. You have a CPA that, just rubber stamps it as if it's no big deal, but they're their butt's on the line. And this utility is in serious trouble, sir. And unless you get down to brass tacks and really fully implement what you swore to do, this utility's going down, sir. And your name's going to be on it, on the tombstone, unless you get with the program and cut off the hemorrhaging sooner rather than later. Thank you.
I gotta respond to that.
Good evening, Chuck Ross. Do you honestly think that he needs a pay raise? You don't think that he can manage to live on 228,000, was it 335? I forgot. What's your annual salary?
You don't need to answer that, Ed. It's public record. He knows what it is.
330 something. I think that maybe, I suggested when he got hired, he should work for $1, but I certainly don't think he needs a pay raise.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheryl McBride, Chief People Officer. I wonder if the maker of the motion might want to amend it to include making the 3% pay increase retroactive to Mr. Belarski's
yes.
anniversary date.
That's something we can do, yeah.
Thank you.
I will make that motion. I just do want to respond. The trash, once again, that's not a GRU thing still, correct, right? That's not us that made that increase? We can be clear?
Yeah, that's correct.
So the SLA losses, we go over this all the time, that's not, it's not true, it's false. And I really, really wish we could stop with the CPA's rubber stamping things. These things are like really gone over quite thoroughly, frankly. And you're throwing people's names out there like they've done something wrong and they haven't. But, saying the bill went up because the trash, he knows what's going on there. The trash went up because the city commission voted on that, not because of GRU. So all these things, they're just misleading. They're not true. SLA losses, misleading, not true. And I just don't appreciate other members besides Mr. Belarski being thrown like they're doing something wrong, rubber stamping stuff that's just completely false. So,
Any additional discussion on the amended motion? All in favor, say aye.
aye.
Motion passes. And that concludes my comments, but I still want to allow any of the other board members their additional comments.
Thank you. The next item we have is general public comment. This is for items not on the agenda. Each person has 3 minutes. May I remind the public to remain respectful and refrain from making disparaging comments to or about the board and staff.
Chuck Ross, good evening again. First thing, I'm gonna request that after the IRP presentation, there's no vote on it, but it's a significant item, and I would hope that you would allow, if we have any questions, because since I looked at the sparse backup, and there's a couple of things I'm going to address now, but first thing I'm going to address on the IRP is, and I'm reiterating what I've said before, which is we should have a better understanding, should be brought to the public, how the original retirement dates are being extended on certain generators. So for example, in 2019, the DH1 was scheduled on, as Mr. Belarski says, paper retirement in 22. In the new document, or with this document here, the retirement date's 27. And I think that he has somewhere where there was a, no? I thought there was a note here about how it was upgraded, but I don't see that. So how do we go from 22 to 27 on DH1? And now I think on the back now, he's extended that to, no? DH1, no, okay, fine. The CT1 was originally scheduled for 26, and it's scheduled for 31, as is CT2. And DH2, which was scheduled for 31, is now scheduled for 36. So here's the question, or what I'd like to hear is, can there be some sort of explanation of What's been done to determine how the lives are being extended? Do we have an engineering report? What steps do we go through? Have steps already started to be, are steps already in place to upgrade or refurbish these units? Because altogether, those three are gonna take off 101 megawatts. And DH2 is gonna take off 230 megawatts, I believe. 232. When those go offline, we're gonna be down to 304 or 300, somewhere around that number. And when DH2 comes off, we're gonna be below our peak level of capacity. And anyway, that's my concerns on the, I only have 14 seconds. I did not get a full answer on, I had a series of questions on the transmission lines that are going to be built from Archer substation to the Parker substation. We got a few comments from the general manager about the resiliency and the backup, but we didn't get, I asked,
Thank you,
what's
Mr.
it
Ross.
gonna
I'm
cost?
sure we'll cover that at a future board member. On board meeting, I'm sure we'll cover those items.
Thank you.
For personal
Mr.
privilege here.
You can hand it over there, please.
Mr. Lawson, I'd like to give you proof of some comments I made earlier, and I'd like you to review them. It's not much, sir. First of all, if you look at the audited financial statements for 2017 under calculation of net position, you will see that the purchase of the biomass plant was booked at what you paid for it. You owned the land under it. And some part of that was a penalty that was treated as asset value. Sir, that's irregular. It's right here. It's all highlighted. You could look at it. You're a CPA, sir. This is not a lie, sir. This is a fact. I'm tired of people calling me liars that do not understand the subject. They just don't know. But it's all there in front of you. And Mr. Bilarski has repeatedly indicated otherwise. And this is false. I've made a series of public records requests. They've been ignored. Now, there can be consequences to this for the clerk. And I ask you to review my requests with your attorney. This is the only thing that was said about SLA losses in the FY24 financial statements. GRU pays for various administrative and certain insurance services. Nothing else, sir. Nothing else. Sir, you are hemorrhaging money over like at least 40 different financial associations with not only the city, the school board, local government, private people. Someone got a free package in sewer plant 50 years ago that loses you $270,000 a year. If that is not an SLA loss, I don't know what is. So the definition is so broad, you don't ask your attorney anything. You let Bilarski put forth erroneous legal theories when you have a prominent attorney who's not going to try to fill Carter's seat. He's too smart. He's not going to be the fifth member. But you don't ask him anything because you wouldn't like the answer he gave you. So don't call me a liar when you don't know anything about the subject. This will come up with your technology agreement. So I'm not really going to say much else, but to say that someone who's responsible for you sitting there, who brought Keith Perry the predecessor legislation on 7 days' notice because he looked under the Christmas tree in December 2014, saw nothing from his wife and panicked and called me because she was getting impatient about getting something done, sir. That's an insult. That just shows how ignorant you are when you suggest that after working for years on this issue without pay, that I'm coming down here and lying. That's just, no, I'm not going to sue you because you're nobody. It doesn't affect me.
Oh, my God.
It doesn't affect me. But I have no reason to lie, sir. I pay the bills. I hand my tenants $5,000 in utility bills in 1 month and watch them choke on it. I come here in person, $5,000 a month, sir. I understand the bills. I pay them. Thanks.
Thank you.
Are we still receiving comments?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. I thought there was a sign on this. Is that
No,
a
no,
sign?
you just,
No, it's just free form?
yes, sir.
Okay, good. All right. Well, good evening. My name is David Fitzgerald. I'm a local ratepayer here in Gainesville. And I thought I saw a preview of some of the presentation. Is there a new IRP, Integrated Resource Plan, will be discussed tonight?
An update on the IRP is on the agenda.
Okay, all right, that's great, because the last one I could find was from 2019, and there was discussion about preliminary results in February 2024, and then there was a commentary that there would be another one coming, and I haven't seen it yet on the website, so I was curious, so that's great, wonderful. And I guess I have another question, which is, how close is GRU at this point to having substantially all residential metering be on the AMI system? That's it, thank you.
Thank you. We'll make sure and Ed will answer that for you.
Great, thank you.
Any additional public comment? Okay, back to the board for your additional comments.
I'm not going to keep arguing with Mr. Conish. I mean, everybody knows his position. I know my position, and sue me, this, that, and the other. He says a lot of stuff that is just incorrect, and he knows he's a smart guy, so he knows how he's laying things out when they are true and when they're not true. And I don't like to, have to use someone's name, but he's doing this. It's ridiculous. It's obscene. He has no clue the meetings that we sit behind. He has no clue that I have a very good relationship with Derek, who thanks his attorney. Have I asked you questions ever, sir?
Yes.
Yes. So yes, we do talk. I don't talk to Mr. Walker a whole lot, whatever else, but we know it's just obscene. It's obscene. You ignore everything. You ignore the rules. We put up with it. You talk too long. We put up with it. You do the disparaging comments. We put up with it. And then you're going to sue us? What are you even talking about, sir? It's just obscene. So we're here for free, too. Put in a lot of hours for free. We're a voluntary board.
Any additional comment?
Not at this time.
Yeah, yes, sir. To the comments about the lifetime capacity of the generating units and stuff like that, that's going to be covered in the IRP tonight presentation. So I encourage you to stick around for that. They'll talk about the longevity. And again, those things are estimates. And, we've said it before. We had the units go down during the year, this year. And as the units went down, our service capacity remained constant. Our ability to serve the customers wasn't a problem even with some of these units going down. And that's what happens. And we made repairs and we extended the life of some of the units. And, when other units are going to go down in the future, we're going to have to do the same thing. So it's a floating evaluation of how long an asset's going to last and then what we can do to extend the lifetime, or do we have to make the financial commitment to buy something new? So that's something that continuously goes on. It's not going to be the end of the world if a unit goes down. We have plans in place to replace the power sources for that. And as for the line hookup that was brought up last week to me after the meeting, and that's simply a contract we entered into with Duke Energy because they had to place their lines on a different position on the poles above our lines. We entered into agreement. Mr. Bralarski can elaborate a little bit on that also, but it's not a big conspiracy plan to solely purchase power from Duke Energy like people are making it out to be. For some reason, they think that we're going to eliminate all of our assets, our power plants, and get rid of fire people. That is not the plan, I can tell you right now. We love our generating stations. We're going to do what we can to keep them running. But at the same time, we're also going to look at other avenues to expand our ability to protect those assets by being able to buy power from other companies. But there is no long-range conspiracy plan to eliminate our power assets.
Thanks for your comments.
Next, we have resolutions. A roll call will be required. The first one we have is 2025-807. There's a resolution of Gainesville Regional Utilities Authority, a unit of city government of the City of Gainesville, Florida, approving the execution, delivery, and performance of one or more natural gas supply agreements with Municipal Gas Authority of Georgia and other documents respecting natural gas prepayment transactions with Main Street Natural Gas and for other purposes. The recommendation is the authority adopt the proposed resolution authorizing participation in a natural gas prepayment transaction between the Gas Authority and TD Bank.
Kunti, do we need to have CEO comments and attorney comments, or am I reading, my agenda may not follow what you are following?
Well, we had director comments after public comment. Would you like to,
Yeah, the resolution slips in between,
yeah, we wanted that at
Thank you.
as the first
Okay.
today.
a little slippery.
So we have a roll call. Chair Lawson, how do you vote?
Yes.
Vice Chair Haslam, how do you vote?
Yes.
Director Jacobs, how do you vote?
Yes.
Director Skinner, how do you vote?
Yes.
Okay, all approved? Yes. Okay, next we have CEO comments.
I wanted to build on what Jack just talked, I'm sorry, Director Jacobs. I love what the comments you made, and I know our folks will love it too. You said, we love our power stations. We do. I mean, it's what's made GRU the independent organization that it is. And we're trying to do whatever we can to make sure that we stay an island unto ourselves with the ability to transfer in and out. But with that comes, this realization that we have to look at things financially. So I just thank you for saying that. Didn't really want to get into anything more than that. But then, gentleman, Mr. Fitzgerald asked about the AMI system. We're about 90% complete. 100% of the electric system is on the smart meters at this point. So, and I think I've told the board the next step is to put the customer portal in place that connects those smart meters in a way that gets us analytical information, gives the customer the portal, and makes it all function. So, we're on that road at this point. I think that's it.
All right, thank you.
Next, we have attorney comments.
Mr. Chair, one of the things, is this? There we go. One of the things that a manager does, as you well know, is make good hires. And Mr. Bilarski has done an excellent job in hiring Derek Perry. He's assimilated himself as a member of our legal team very well and has done just a terrific job on behalf of the utility. So we value that decision that Ed made, and Derek's done a great job. From the legal standpoint, Derek, if I leave something out, jump in. As you know, our current lawsuit, we have a lawsuit that's presently pending in the 8th Judicial Circuit, and I spoke with Dan Nee in the back this afternoon, and he has been very collegial and gracious and said, look, time on October 29th is likely available. He's checking with his staff to make sure that that can happen. We filed what you would call a more traditional motion for injunctive relief in front of Judge Wright, and he's given us that time as availability, so it's likely that we'll be arguing that on the 29th is our anticipation, and we'll go forward with that. It'll be on the traditional notions of injunction. We went before Judge Wright, and let me go back. Our lawsuit is founded upon constitutional grounds, principally Florida Constitution. And there's provisions in that Constitution under local government. It's Article 8, Section 2B and 2C. Those are really the operative sections. And basically, under the Home Rule Powers Act, which emanates, that came into being as Chapter 166 of the Florida statutes, it was enacted in 1973 after the 1968 Constitution was enacted. And the basic gist of it is that municipalities have general powers, proprietary powers, and governmental powers as provided by the Constitution and then implemented under Chapter 166, except as provided by law. And that's the specific phrase that's in Section 2B. And our argument is that when the legislature enacted 1645, that is a special act of the legislature, and it can't be undone by an ordinance of the city of Gainesville, can't be undone thereby a resolution, even though that also is provided under general law, because this was a constitutional provision. So that's the nature of our argument. And then Article 8, Section 2C also provides extraterritorial powers that are as provided by general law and special act. And our argument as well is that, well, wait a minute, we serve residents outside the municipality of Gainesville, and the Act 1645 gives specific extraterritorial powers of this board to have representation of those customers, and therefore, because of that, you can't have a ordinance, a referendum that goes against that constitutional provision of power. So that's basically the argument that we have in front of Judge Wright. And we tried a fairly novel argument in front of him under Chapter 166 0.0411, which is enacted in 2023, and it's a new provision in law that says that statutorily, local governments have to put a pause on a law if there's constitutional arguments that are interposed against that law. We did all of that procedurally correct. Judge Wright said, no, I just don't feel that that provision of that new law is arbitrary or unreasonable, or that it expressly goes against constitutional provisions. So he denied our request for relief. Hence, our new motion for injunctive relief under the traditional injunction provisions. We'll argue that in front of him on the 29th of this month is what our anticipation is, and then go forward on that. So the effort is to halt the effectiveness of this referendum until the First District Court of Appeal can rule on our initial lawsuit, and then also the grounds that we're now bringing under the current lawsuit. So that's really where we're at. The briefing schedule is now happening. I think November 4th is we've agreed to provide the city of Gainesville an extension until November 4th for their cross brief, their initial brief, as well as their answer brief. And so that's happening at that point in time. We'll have an ability to file an answer brief to their cross appeal as well as a reply brief before things are done. And then the first DCA may order oral argument, depending on how they feel about the arguments that are before them in the briefing schedule. So I think that gives you an up-to-date version of where we're at. I did leave out that in our lawsuit that we have presently pending, we contend that the referendum language is problematic. It doesn't adequately inform the voters of what the vote is all about. So foundationally, we believe that that is problematic once again. And then under the 14th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, that the Equal Protection Clause, that the current referendum is violative of that as well. So that's the gist of where we're at right now with the litigation. And Derek, again, if I've left anything out, feel free to add.
Just that we're working together and pushing forward on all fronts, and we feel good.
Does anyone have any questions for Scott or Derek?
No, I'm glad to say that, glad to hear that you like Derek working with the team, though. I like him. He's great.
If I could address that, I play an interesting role as attorney in a general counsel concept. So when I interact with, first I want to thank Mr. Walker and his team for being so patient with me, because I act as an agent for the utility. So I am both, I get to play client, and because I'm an attorney, also attorney. So I get to, I'm always poking them and prodding and, hey, what about this? And they're very kind and receptive. If you can imagine any of your professional jobs, if someone in your field, comes into your shop and start, asking you why you're using a certain additive to a fuel or whatnot, it could be annoying. So I really appreciate the kindness and generosity.
It's a good team.
All right, thank you. Thanks for the update.
Yes, sir.
Next on the agenda, we have business discussion items. The first one is 2025-808, approval of the FY26 Information Technology Service Level Agreement, SLA, between GRU and the City of Gainesville. The recommendation is the GRU Authority approve the FY26 Enterprise Information Technology Service Level Agreement between GRU and the City of Gainesville, executed by the Chief Executive Officer on behalf of GRUA.
I've been in so many different meetings with lawyers now. After that was done, I was expecting Mr. Nee, who's in the back of the room, to have to come up and argue what you just said. But I guess we're not doing that, right? You're not doing that, Dan?
You already did that.
Oh, okay.
City prevailed.
Okay, got it. So, yeah, there's no slide projection here. God, that shows my age, no slide projection, okay. Over the past, how long, Ed? About 4 months. Ed, by the way, Ed Nagy over here is Walt Bank's counterpart at General Government. He came on board, I think he was further south than us. He was kind of in Derek Perry's territory. He came up to try to set up a system, IT system at General Government. And since that time, he's been trying to find out where the bathroom is and things like that at General Government, and also where, he fits in with the IT structure at GRU. So over those 4 months, he looked at how we built our cost structure, what kind of services they were getting, how he could mesh his build out of the system so that he could optimize, his IT operations and not interfere with ours. And I think after an arm wrestling contest, we agreed on a new IT SLA. The total annual cost of service to general government is $3.7 million. You'll notice that's lower than what they paid before, because they're taking over some of the responsibilities that we now have. So there's mutuality, I can't say that right, mutuality of operations in certain areas. And so, Mr. Banks is pleased with that. I think Ed Nagy is pleased with that. It went through the signature process with the city manager, myself, Walt, and Ed, and so I'm bringing it back for your approval. So, any questions? I'll be glad to answer.
What I would say to this is the whole purpose of why organizations have service level agreements among each other. It's a way to spread fixed cost among a greater area. And so the city wins because they don't have to go out and invest in the infrastructure. They can just add to what they need. And we win, GRU wins, because we can cost share a large percentage or a percentage of our fixed cost with the city. It's the whole purpose, and it's why we've been looking at all these service level agreements over the last 2 years. And the goal here is that everyone wins. in these types of deals.
I couldn't say it any better, but of course you have the financial background. And, you know, and that's quite frankly what the commission is saying as well. If you listen to some of their meetings, they're talking about where there can be shared services. That's what we ought to do. But when there are areas that we're totally different, then we got to recognize that difference and kind of go our different ways.
Does anyone have any questions for Ed?
No, I think it's great. I think this shouldn't be like you were saying, it shouldn't be an us versus them. It should, what can we provide them and what can they, you know, I think it's great. I'm glad we're able to come up with a reasonable agreement. And, I mean, it all tracks with me personally.
Oh, I did fail to mention, it's for 1 year because they've obviously got to look at where they will move from this point. There could be changes in the future, or they could say, well, gee, we like it the way it is. But, I mean, it gives us that year to work out those different kinds of.
Is that tied to fiscal year, Ed?
Yes, fiscal year.
So you need a motion.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion that the GRU Authority approve the fiscal year 26 Enterprise Information Technology Service Level Agreement between GRU and the City of Gainesville, executed by the Chief Executive Officer on behalf of the GRUA.
I'll second that motion.
I have a motion and second, public comment.
Mr. Chair, Jim Conish. I commend Ed on the agreement, but I would like you to consider some other facts. The CFO sat here, sir, on December 23rd, 2023, and stood up for the Chief Information Officer with Cunningham sitting right there. And it became clear that Mr. Cunningham had falsified the full cost allocation report for IT. That was established. There's also discussion of the advanced directive from the mayor that cost GRU millions. And that's a very serious matter, sir. It can be criminal under the city's own charter. Now, it came out because of one member put forth a Herculean effort to dig down into this one SLA loss, one of dozens. In 23, you lost $4.5 million. In 24, you lost like 2.8 million, about 3 million, and it was forgiven. You finders, keepers, losers, weepers, sir. You find an SLA loss, and is that because you like the litigation that they're dragging you through? That you're so accommodating with our money? Just as the direct transfer was way beyond what the utility was making, the indirect transfer established in finding number 3 of the 2022 Auditor General's report had been going on before Ed was fired in this same area. So they didn't only just take from the direct transfer, they took from dishonest full cost allocation reports indirectly. Just to give you a context, your vehicle maintenance went up 1.2 million with the city. You don't have an SLA. That's $10,000 a day, sir. I talked to Sheriff Scott. I asked him why the sheriff set up their own garage and didn't use the county commission to service sheriff vehicles. He said purely economic reasons. So this idea that Ed has really done what needs to be done to allow this utility to absorb the fantastic price paid for an electric biomass plant, it's not getting done, sir. It just isn't. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And there's no mention, I have 10 seconds, of what it is for this year. Ed told me it was 5 million. I didn't hear for about 25. I just hear about 23 and 26. Thanks.
Okay, back to the board for additional discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Next business discussion item is 2025-809, approval of agreement between GRU and the City of Gainesville for solid waste and stormwater billing services. The recommendation is the GRU Authority authorizes the Chief Executive Officer to negotiate and execute an amended agreement between GRU and the City of Gainesville for solid waste and stormwater billing services.
Thank you, Kute. Before I begin on that, this is how I get dragged into all this stuff on social media and trying to set the record straight. I can't let this moment pass when somebody said that Tony falsified information. Tony didn't falsify information. I will tell you that in discussions with Ed Nagy and looking at our cost structure, there's many ways in which you can look at allocating costs. One of the things Ed said was, I'm not paying for 50% of Walt Banks. And, you know, he's right. Walt's probably doing more for us or, you know, some of these other services. And that's all that Tony did in coming up with some of the other numbers before. Said, accepted some lower numbers than maybe Walt would have accepted or I would have accepted. But that's not falsifying anything. And once you start saying that, I mean, I've been on the other end of that, and it's just wrong to do to people. He's coming up here ad hominem attacks on people that work with me every day, have CPA licenses, and he's attacking people, and it's wrong. And I won't stand for that. Every time he says something like that and I have to refute it, I will. And I'm not going to apologize for it because it's wrong. Okay. Thank you.
No,
Thanks
thank
for
you. You
letting me
said it a little more eloquently than I could. I appreciate it.
The next item on the agenda is the stormwater and solid waste billing. Now, if you all remember, I brought the idea back before the board that there was an opportunity to pull out the billing from GRU and lower our bills. I've talked to Brian Singleton, who is here tonight too. We have a cast of thousands from general government here tonight, and we went back and forth. They said, we hear what you're saying, Ed. It will take us a while to put billing on another system. I think they talked to the appraiser's office, looked at how they would have to do it. It's a little murky, it's a little time consuming, and maybe not be as beneficial for them to bill through their offices as opposed to ours. So in one of our meetings, they came back to us and said, hey, would you consider continuing the billing? We'll up the ante a little bit. We know that it would cost us more to work with someone else. And so I think we were currently charging $825,000 for that service. And they talked about changing the percentage of revenues collected, and that number would approximate $952,000. So we're looking at another $130,000 to perform the services for them. It would keep it on our bill. So I know people are going to say, well, Ed, you're the two-handed economist. Well, on one hand, it'd be nice to take it off the bill and not have our customers pay that $50, $60, and they'd see an immediate drop in our bill. On the other hand, there's the synergy that you were talking about, whereby it would help the city, it help general government, and it would help us too in some of the costs that we incur on bringing AMI over in the customer portal. Hopefully we could look to reduce fees, pay for the prepayment package in our package of the customer portal that might allow us to reduce the amount of security deposits that we collect from customers. If they can prepay for a bill instead of waiting for a bill and then being late and having a security deposit cover that risk. People at OUC, Orlando Utility Commission, are doing those kind of things. So I'm coming to you tonight, leaving the decision with the board, But I thought that it was a good enough response from general government to bring it forward to you all and say, GRU is comfortable with continuing the bill under this new arrangement, and I will hammer out an agreement with Brian Singleton and Ms. Curry and maybe Andrew Persons. They have to have the decision before the end of the year, but they'd like to know no later than the November meeting. They said that they would love to know tonight, which is, I think, why they're all kind of crowded around, and you're all like E.F. Hutton. And so when you speak, they will listen. So I hope that gives the background.
So Ed, since we had this discussion several months ago, I've thought a lot about, the process or the concept of taking this off our bill. And the reason why we went down this road was the optics of it aren't great. But yet at the same time, this is my personal opinion, I don't think the optics of our bill are going to change that dramatic if we take one little item off. And then it goes back to the concept and the discussion around shared services. This is a way for us to share some of our infrastructure with the city and they would benefit and we benefit. It would be a straight up $700,000 loss in revenue for us if we push them away. And on the third component, I've talked to some local businesses who are local renters. And right now, most of those utility bills include the stormwater and it goes directly to customers. If we change this and the city takes a different billing approach, it potentially could fall on the backs of local businesses. And I don't think that's not our intended consequence, is to hurt local businesses. And so as a result of sort of those discussions I've had in the community, as well as just saying, why would we walk away from an agreement that really works for both the city and for GRU? So that's my position on this item.
I would echo most of what you said there. As a local business owner, I certainly don't want to have to hurt myself in the process. I don't think, like you said, the optics was the biggest thing for me originally. Just it makes the bill lower, and people also understand that it's not us causing your trash bill to change or whatever. That's another one. But at the same time, I think that we should work with the city in every way that we can that is beneficial for both parties without one party being neglected or taken advantage of, obviously. And I feel that we're already here, we can take care of it. It would make plenty of sense, obviously. And I don't think putting the burden, because ultimately, if we shift the burden to the city and they have to pay more to get it done, it's going to cost everyone here more. You know what I mean? So if we can get it done for less, ultimately, it makes sense just to keep it going. So
I'm on the opposite side. I'm a hard no on this. It's not optics, it's principle. We're basically, they just given us a little bit of, I don't want to say bribe, but to take over the services. And we leave them unchecked authority to raise stormwater and garbage fees whenever they're in a bind. The commission has already proven that they cannot be trusted with the money. And to give them that, we need to switch the billing to them and take it off. There isn't one more issue that's more important to us that I hear people say, especially people that move here from other jurisdictions, is that their bills are on their property taxes in most other communities, and it's a separate thing. So when they come here, they automatically go, oh, look how high the bills are. I think besides being the most visible change or reducing people's bills, we will put the onus back on the city commission to act responsibly. If we just keep giving in and allowing them to do their dirty work for them, and they just can automatically just raise rates, and it reflects back on us, but ultimately, we need, when the people's property taxes and business owners' property taxes start going up, people are going to start making better voting decisions and put better people in office that can be trusted fiscally. So if we let them out on this one, shame on us. We're letting them scapegoat on us again. And this one I got to stand on principle, and I think that they need to own up to the decisions they make to raise property taxes, to raise stormwater, to raise the wastewater and the garbage.
Appreciate those comments, Jack. I thought about that as well. But I think this is a win-win. This is a legacy thing that's been going on for years and years. I understand how you feel, Director Jacobs, but I think this is a win-win for us to continue the services without increasing the costs immediately. And we can always do a PR campaign. If bills are going up, we can always identify that in our bill flyers or online and say, hey, this was a decision not made by GRU or the GRU Authority Board. This was done by the City Commission, and we can try to combat it that way and educate the public.
Well, Jack's got me thinking a little bit. I don't know that that's going to work. You know, what you just said there as far as like, hey, the city did this because most of the stuff the city has done, no offense to people who work for the city, looks like we did. And if you look at the vote yes and all this other crowd, they've really manipulated the truth, and it's been impossible for us to get the truth out there. I mean, the part of me that thinks that we'll do like a better job at it wants to go ahead, but I wouldn't even think about the consequences of what if they raise the trash next month, you know, and what do we got to do then? There is that consequence there. I hate the thought of us losing almost, you said $700,000 in revenue, but at the same time, if there is an increase, it's going to hurt, you know, and it's going to keep taking the optics out of it. And he's got a very valid point. I don't know. Like, I was ready to vote the way I was going to vote, but what you said's kind of got me thinking a little bit.
I mean, if we can't absorb a 700,000, that's another thing. We talked about, he's like, well, we may have to increase rates. If we don't make 700,000 on that one thing, it's like, come on. We just took a hit for an $11 million lawsuit. So I can't see rewarding bad behavior, you know.
I think my
We gotta hold
position
them
on that is,
responsible.
I think the city's gonna do what they're gonna do, whether they have to run it through the property taxes or.
Yeah, but then they're gonna be accountable for their actions, for what they did. And instead of, you know, us taking the hit for it, or they're gonna, like I said, sooner or later, people are gonna vote, and they're gonna vote based on some of these decisions that the city commission's making.
How long did you say the contract was for, Ed?
Yeah, you kept saying 700,000, it's 952,000.
Right.
So it's a little bit more than that, but we do have Brian here, and maybe you can get a commitment from him that he won't raise the stormwater and garbage fees over the next year. Are you willing to do that, Brian? Well, I will tell you that part of this, if I'm not mistaken, you did raise it for the next fiscal year. And I don't know if you want to address some of that. I'm not trying to put you on the spot.
No, but it does need to be talked about so we can
Yeah.
have clarification, I guess.
Yeah.
Good evening, Brian Singleton, Special Advisor to the City Manager. As Mr. Blarski pointed out, the proposal for this fiscal year would be to go from, I think, approximately $825,000 to roughly $950,000 for the building services. It would be changing the model from a flat fee to a percentage of fees collected. So when and if fees do get adjusted, the cost for services would increase to that same proportionate share. The city generally increases its fees every other year, so we increase fees this fiscal year. We're not on schedule to do it for another 2 years. At this time, our stormwater system is solid. I don't anticipate increasing fees for the foreseeable future. The solid waste fund is in a little different state. We are going through a new solicitation for trash pickup. We are going through a very aggressive negotiating process to bring those costs down to pick up curbside fees. I do not foresee the need to increase solid waste fees again, but we'll see how that fund shakes out. And I'm willing to answer any questions that the authority might have.
So you heard from Brian, he guaranteed that they wouldn't raise it.
Thank you.
Is there a move to go to electric trucks?
No, sir, that has been removed completely from the solicitation. We have two options to award on the solid waste solicitation. That's price only, and then for basically a performance point system. but diesel fuels will be allowed. We are trying to get the most cost-effective method to pick up trash for our curbside customers. Also to note, this arrangement between the city and GRU has been in practice since the 80s. So it's been a very long relationship.
Brian, I forget how long we were talking about doing this, but, I mean, we could truncate it and make it another year or two, right?
Our current agreement has I believe, an 18-month cancellation clause, or it might be 24 months. I'd have to look at it more closely. That is strictly due to the process to get on that tax collector's bill. And if we were to make that change for November of next year, we would have to adopt a resolution by the end of this calendar year. So that's the reason for that cancellation clause, to give us time to work through that statutory process.
Ed, correct me if I'm wrong, just to comment on Director Jacobs, our IT agreement was unexpected money, correct? So what we would be bringing in that would offset somewhat.
Well,
the
yeah, we
cost
had
for
not
this.
budgeted
If-
an agreement.
If we were to pull out, we would be able to, budget-wise, the numbers would match up.
Yeah, I always hate to talk about unexpected money. I mean, we were certainly going to work with them. We just didn't know what the number was going to be.
Exactly.
And that's the difference between that SLA and this SLA too, is we're in control of what we negotiate number-wise. We're not in control of how much they raise rates on the thing. It's a different animal.
So David, how you feeling about this?
I don't know. I thought it was a solid vote and like to go ahead and do it, but I really hadn't taken, this is the disadvantage of not getting to talk about this a little more, is I hadn't really taken Jack's position at all, because, you know what I mean? So I took my position of, whatever. So I don't know. How long is this agreement going to be for? I'm sorry, I know we kind of answered that. How long is this agreement for, Ed?
Well, it's a 24-month cancellation period. But, I mean, we could do it for a year and push this off another year while we get comfortable with the relationship again, or.
Because what Mr. Singleton just said is the city needs approximately 11 months to get it on the property tax rolls, correct?
More than that.
Depending on when the decision is made. So like if we were to make the decision in April of next year, it couldn't happen for November. So we would have to go to November 27. So it just to those statutory requirements for the assessments.
I mean,
Do you want some time to think about it?
I don't know. I mean, no. I mean, if somebody's making a motion, I hate to go. I'm not gonna go against my gut on this. So, if somebody makes a motion, I would probably second it. To be honest with you. So.
All right, I'd make a motion that we approve the agreement between GRU and the city of Gainesville for the solid waste and stormwater billing services to not exceed a 24-month period or 2-year period. And we can re-examine it at that period of time because the city will not be in mode to increase rates at that point. So we can think about this again for next year, and it gives them a little bit of an olive branch, even though I understand we have an adversarial relationship.
But we shouldn't.
Currently, yes, but we shouldn't. That's the motion as I would make
That was
it.
a long motion.
Well, we'll take out the olive branch. And
I will second the I will second the motion.
There's a motion and a second public comment.
Mr. Chair, I think it's time to clean up more false and misleading information. I spoke with Mr. Power yesterday. He didn't want any part of this. I do not speak for him. I speak with him. You voted on March 12, 25 to, quote, work with the city to remove these buildings off GRU's bills no later than November 26. And you, sir, asked the CEO to find alternative methods to make up for the revenue loss. So now Bilarski ignores that and brings you something contrary to what you've already done. So you're reconsidering a prior action. what are the rules on that? I don't know if you even have rules, but you're reconsidering a private action. Sir, 3,380 disconnects last month. In the 6-month period we looked at, there were 1,601 more disconnects than reconnects. You're killing your customer base. Unlike you, sir, people with very little money are really trying to hold the bill down. At my house, I take off from $119 a month, half of it is stormwater and garbage. They have $8,000 smart garbage cans, sir. $8,000 smart garbage cans going on the electric bill of poor people who are being disconnected by the thousands. But even worse than that, sir, you're sending to collections so far this year $11 million, and you only see 10% of it. Moreover, the city at one point hired a consulting firm because GRU wasn't collecting all the money and gave them a big bounty. The city auditor has looked at GRU's ability to collect this money, and it's very poor. The tax collectors charges 2% with a discount of 1% to 4% for paying early. That's half of what Ed charges. So he's misrepresenting, again, basic facts. The tax collector collects like 98% of it. Ed doesn't, because when you write the bill off, not only do you not get paid for garbage and stormwater, you don't get paid for anything. And some group of people are sitting there with no electricity, sir, no refrigeration, no lights. Not everyone is as fortunate as Ed, you, and myself. Some people are really having trouble with these bills. And to sell us out for $900,000 and not charge anything to collect all the other money. Finally, the county has a fee waiver for disadvantaged people for the tax bill. I could go on for hours. This presentation, as always, is full of false and misleading information. Thank you.
Thank you. Back to the board for comments. Jack, I appreciate your position and how you've articulated that. Thank you.
Yeah, just say, if you're not really sure, that take some extra time to research it a little bit and see what but yeah, in good conscience, I just can't move through it.
Any additional comments?
One of my clients is in a similar position with the county and sheriff services. So they've reduced the time frame for their interlocal agreement. First of all, they didn't allow MSTU to be entered into the city because they had no control over the sheriff's services. So they said, look, we're going to take money out of our general fund and we're going to enter into a interlocal agreement with the county for the exact reason that is stated by Board Member Jacobs, that we don't have control over what the county does for our city residents, and we just think that that's an unfair situation. So what they've done in that city is they've said, we're only going to do this on a one-year basis so that we have some exercise of control over if the rates are raised. Now, there's restrictions on how the rates can be raised for this sort of level of service. It can't be arbitrary and capricious, but as has been said, you don't have any control over those rates. So that's one of the ways. I just analogize this argument that you're having, a respectful argument that you're having this evening, to one of the other clients that I have, which is a very similar argument, I would say.
And so what you're saying is that if the city were to continue to increase rates and it caused even more problems, we can take this up.
We're out.
And, yeah. Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Hey.
Motion passes.
Next item is 2025-810 Integrated Resource Plan, IRP Update, Plan versus Actions. The recommendation is the authority hear the presentation and ask any necessary questions.
Well, we've been talking about the IRP, we've talked about the power generation fleet for a while. Thank you, Brian. So I wanted to bring back some of the things that we've been working on. You want to take a little pause while Chip goes away? Okay. Okay.
I think he's already seen it. So.
Yeah, oh, that's right, I forgot. I'm sorry. So I wanted to kind of firm up, what action we're taking, because, again, there's a lot of things that are out there in the public ether that we're not following the IRP. The IRP is dead in the water, and, a host of these things. So let's kind of just start down through the top of this and go through it a little bit. Our GRU electric system, we have over 600 megawatts of summer capacity. We typically peak out at about 425 megawatts during that summer load period. Average demand is somewhere around 200 megawatts. So, on that macro level, it's like, whoa, everything looks, pretty good. What has been focused on within the IRP from back in 2019, the latest one in 23-24, was these units that are ending their, or nearing their paper retirement dates. And what do I mean by that? The DH1, which is the 76 megawatt plant that we have in the Deer Haven facility. Deer Haven 2, which, and I'll get into each one of those. Each one of these units had a nameplate, time frame, useful life put on them when they went into service without, a lot of update for their usage, condition, component parts, a lot of these things. So we're looking at a paper retirement of 343 of the 642 megawatts. What do we do with that, and how did that fit into the IRP? So let's drill down a little bit more before we talk a little bit more broadly. By the way, the Deer Haven facility there, steam unit number 2, we have bituminous gas. That doesn't exist, it's bituminous coal. My bad. So the first unit you see there is J.R. Kelly, kind of the granddaddy of all of them. And you see that it has a lifetime assessment ending in 2051. And it's 41 units, 41 megawatts and 71 megawatts. And this kind of proves the point of what we're all talking about and how I've been talking since I've been here. It was originally scheduled for 2021 end of service, but we had a $26.6 million rebuild of that unit that Dino DeLeo down here, supervised when I was here, and he added 30 years of life to that unit. It's really important to understand that how tremendous a job that was as compared to replacing that unit. Our folks have done it. They've managed people that work for us to do it. And all you have to do is drop down to the Deer Haven facility here under steam unit number 2 that runs on natural gas and bituminous coal to see it. Because at one time that didn't run on natural gas. In 2021, we retrofitted that unit so that it ran on natural gas as well. Now, natural gas is not a very abrasive unit. It doesn't require the type of outage work that coal units do. I believe that, that has already extended some of the component parts of that unit. So, but you can see, the steam unit number 2, 2031, steam unit number 1, 2026. And then you have the combustion turbines that are the jet engines that are around the facility up there that are used for peak capacity. We have the Southeast Energy Center that services UF. And yes, UF is really our biggest customer on the electric side. I just have to say that because everyone looks at UF like, well, they need to give us business on campus. Well, they give us a lot of business, through their hospital. And then we have the DHR, Deer Haven Renewable Biomass Plant. So let's compare what the IRP score, or what the IRP was compared to what we're talking about. There were ostensibly 6 immediate takeaways from that IRP. We looked at DH2's paper retirement, extending it to 2036. That was in the IRP. That was one of the scenarios that gave us the best bang for the buck. Put a check on that because guess what? We're doing that. We're looking at that. We're talking about extending CT1 and CT2's paper retirement to 2031. We're doing that same thing. We're also exploring short-term capacity power purchase agreements. That was in the IRP, checking that off as well. In fact, we've had a 4-month power purchase agreement with FP&L that helped us over the hump when we were having some problems with Kelly. We did it at, I think, Dina, what was it, an 8,000 heat rate pricing? Yeah, 8,000 heat rate pricing, low capacity payment. It was lower than our own cost of production. So they have a value in when we're looking at these units. They're not the firm capacity that you would get over a longer period of time with longer term PPAs, but they still have value to us. And that's stuff we've been doing and looking at. That's all out of the IRP. What haven't we done? Well, we terminated the Sand Bluff Solar PPA that we talked about being in service in 2025. It wouldn't have been in service in 2025, but Regis, who was our vendor in that deal, said, look, they couldn't do it for the price. It became too prohibitive, so it was mutual termination. And this board approved that. In 2028, it was in the IRP that we were talking about replacing DH1 with a gas-fired unit. We haven't committed to that, and we're looking at other alternatives, so that's an X. And then we talked about getting into another solar PPA in 2029. So out of the 6 items that are in the IRP, that's the theoretical, it's modeled. We've looked at the actions that can be taken, and we're taking 3 of those actions as we're talking right now. So why the big push on not doing any of the solar? Well, it's as simple as solar isn't free. When we were in the IRP process, we were looking at a price on the Sand Bluff at $47 a megawatt hour with no escalation. And when we hit brass tacks with a Regis, they were looking upwards of $55 a megawatt hour. And our own cost, internal cost, is $38 a megawatt hour. And in looking at the 2029 solar PPA, the IRP cost had $40 a megawatt hour, and some of the numbers that this isn't an RFI, it isn't an RFP, but we have folks in the industry that can give you a pretty good value on what's happening out there. It's $51 to $53 a megawatt hour with a 2% escalation. The other ones weren't escalated. So it changes the very economics of what we're looking for. Solutions that weren't in the IRP is the extension of DH1's paper retirement from 2027 to 2032. And you can see the sepia photograph there that shows how old it is. But one of the reasons we started looking at this, and I will tell you, this is a lot of work to throw on to energy supply. They're maintaining, they're working on the assets, they're doing it, and now I'm asking them, what can you do to extend the useful life of these units? What can you do? And of course, and some people have mentioned in the audience, where are we with engineering on that? Where are we with looking at this stuff? We're really starting to ramp that up. And it's not a process that's done overnight. We need to We need to have a thorough process of what the component parts are of those of those plants, what the condition is, what the assessment, and what we can expect moving forward. We'd have to get into some RFPs and some other contracts to see what the total cost of that would be. But the reason that we're looking for that is because it's a new build versus a life extension. And the new gas-fired plant pricing has really skyrocketed. Back when we did the IRP, the 72 megawatts of RICE engine that we were talking about was about $116 million. Current estimates show that with that 72 megawatts with RICE engines, $193 million, with projected annual cost savings of $3 million or some lower amount, going from 12,000 heat rate down to 8. Whereas extending the useful life of DH1, looking at some approximate cost of $13 million that we've seen in-house. So what you need to understand about this, it doesn't give you a new plant. It doesn't give you 30 or 40 years, but it moves the decision-making process out 5 years to a time when you're not in the middle of skyrocketing turbine prices, generator prices, because of the boom in AI and data centers. Because you have Amazon, Google, they're buying their own and trying to capture that part of the market, and we're competing with all of that. So I've always been somebody that believed in optionality. You know, right plant, right price. You know, in sports, it's right player, right price, right? So I wanted to show this via this N-1 contingency chart because some people have that, showing it on TikTok, saying this is what keeps people up at night. And we all should be kept up at night based on reliability of the system. But I want you to understand when you see this, this is an N-1 contingency, meaning that it's planning for the loss of your largest unit that exceeds the requirements of the 15% summer planning reserve margin. So it's a moment in time, it can be several moments in time, and it can be a period of time, but it's not the way the plants will operate over a long period of time. There's a lot of ways to fill that gap. You can fill that with life extensions. You can get firm contracts, power purchase agreements to fill that. There's a lot of ways to do that. So if you go to that N-1 chart with extensions, you can see that, let's just do this back and forth. You can see in the years 2025 through 2031, you're sitting there right where you need to be, right below that line in the N-1 chart. If you go back, you can see the big drop-off that you had in 2028. So I hate to put it exactly this way, but getting the life extensions buys us time to thoughtfully think through what the next level of generating assets that we work with. We're getting the most out of what we have. We're doing more with less, and we're putting ourselves in a position to succeed for the ratepayers, the customers of GRU. And when I think of customer service, and I think about customer first program, it goes back to if you are a customer and you're looking at this, what would you want to see happen? And it would be, we want to see you make the best of your assets. We don't want, for example, one of the things that we're talking about is paying down $400 million of debt over the 10 years, and we're talking about 320 now because we've paid, you know, a portion of that down. If we were to get in and construct a new RICE engine, that would go on to the debt. It would make it harder for us to reduce the leverage. So I see the next period of time as being one to put us on strong financial footing so that then we can make the better decisions and be it in a market that is to our choosing, not being thrust upon us. So that's where I diverge from the IRP in that we have boots on the ground information now, and that's why, in summary, we're moving forward with looking at the life extension of DH2 and now DH1. The same thing with CT1 and CT2. We're working with TEA's assistants on short-term, long-term power purchase agreements that will enhance our reliability and competitiveness. We've already terminated the Sand Bluff PPA, but we still are monitoring opportunities for other solar PPAs. We're not saying we're not going to do that, but it's got to be an opportunity. So I know that sounds scant, but it's how you approach these bigger decisions. You don't get in the weeds on the information that has been built up. You take that information and then you build upon it with decision-making executive function. So I think it's a plan that we had talked about early on. I will say that Dino and his crew have a task. I'll mention it again because they're the guys that have to try to get this done. And that's where we are.
Ed, thanks for your report. Any comments or questions for Ed on that?
Oh, no, I just equate this to the general public, is if you have a car right now, you may not be able to afford to go out and buy a brand-new car for $40,000, $50,000. So what do? You repair the vehicle that you have until the prices come down, or you save up enough to where you can buy it. It's simple economics.
I like the way that you put it. I know probably some of our energy supply folks might bristle and say, hey, but we're talking about reliability 24/7, 365 days a year, and they are. But analogies are meant to help people understand. And I think that hits the nail right on the head in, that, oh yeah, that does make sense. I have to pay down my debt. I have to do this. It's a little bit of Dave Ramsey, right, as we speak.
Oh, and my wife made me go through that.
Well, these decisions aren't made in a vacuum.
No.
The recommendations in the IRP don't really consider the debt load that GRU currently carries, and those have to be factored in, and I think you did a really nice job of sort of reflecting on how do we maximize our current fantastic assets so that as we address some of these other challenges. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have 2025-811 GRU for September 2025. Recommendation is the authority hear a presentation from the CEO and ask any questions they desire.
Which one is that? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I was done.
I mean, you can.
Can be,
Yeah. We'll go through it real quick because, in fact, Cheryl's left. Yeah. Because the first thing we're talking about is personnel, and I wanted, by the way, she came in, she's a real trooper. She'd been ill for the past week.
Really?
Yeah, so, but God bless her, she came in, she fought through it, and really good. But I wanted to say that effective October 1st, all HR services are handled in-house. So she's fully staffed up, people are getting their service, and I think the poor gal ran herself to death at just getting to that October 1st date. Our vacancy rate bumped up a little bit, 8.51%, probably because she wasn't here for that past week. And the thing to remember with HR services, though, we're still on payroll over at the city. So she's working through success factors. I don't see any real hurry to set like an artificial date for that. I think it's important to get payroll right. Tends to be something that we want to do right. So I'll give you updates on how we're moving ahead with success factors and the payroll. The collective bargaining meeting went very fine on September 11th. Unfortunately, because of Cheryl's absence, we weren't able to meet the next week, so we'll be scheduling that. Just an update on the financial performance. I don't have the expenses and those types of things, but the latest I had was that we're $13 million ahead of budget in all systems, which, when you think about the size of our revenue, isn't a lot, but we came back to you all and talked about the fact that, we look at about a 1 or 1.5% increase. We're doing a little bit better than that, which is also helping. And of course, we have all kinds of things going into the community, throughout the community. I mean, every month, as I accumulate a lot of this information, it's just really interesting to see how engaged our employees are, doing things on their own time. We had the GRU's AMI team. They attended the Bradford County's Career Fair on September 2nd. We have residential efficiency coordinators, customer service reps, attending community outreach, and a lot of this time they're doing this along with general government folks. I want to give a special shout out to the water wastewater team that worked from midnight till 5 in the morning to repair a force main at the Gainesville airport. It had avoided a shutdown of the runway. I mean, you don't hear about that, right? I mean, Debbie was real famished, you know. She was going around like, oh my God, are we going to get this done? So there's been also, there was, God bless you, there was a really dangerous situation with one contractor in town that had tented a house, and they tried to put the boom truck in between our wires and the house, and they almost got killed. You know, if you want to hear a little bit of information about that, Chad can tell you a little bit about it, but it just renews when we see that type of thing. I mean, if it weren't for the equipment that, you know, we gave them, and we might have had some fatalities for a contractor. So not only are we vigilant with our own folks, but we try to train and make, you know, our contractors and folks that are serving in the community, because we don't want any of our citizens and residents affected as well. We also hosted the Florida's American Waterworks Young Professional Seminar, and I think the safety team with Scott Holowasco volunteered at the Ronald McDonald House and served meals in September. We have a running program where we do that, and it's just nice to see our folks out in the community. And we have the legal that Scott took away from me again, and with that, I'm done.
Any questions for Ed?
Ed, just coming through, I don't know if this was a typo or not, but customer operations, you may not have it right in front of you. Notice that the answer speed for residential calls was 32 minutes actual.
Yes, and I will get back to you on that one. I don't know if it's a typo or not.
Okay, because that was a little concerning to
Can't
me. If
imagine
somebody,
that'd be correct.
yeah.
Oh.
I'd be hanging up and saying, hey, call me back.
That might have been because of rush.
Rush week with the
students
universities
coming back in, yes.
and trying to set up their accounts.
Yeah.
That was going to be my
That's when we have
follow-up
crash
question.
carts, then we're going out in the lobby and we're trying to get people signed up. But, boy, I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's part of getting the customer portal. One of the things that we're trying to accomplish with the customer portal is that we can get text messages out to people, our customers. I mean, we can do that kind of stuff now, but it's not as efficient as having this customer portal through SEW. And what was I also going to say with that? Simple things. I've talked to folks. We have to be a 21st century utility where people want to have as less contact with us as possible. They want to be able to pay their bills. They don't want to have to use some arcane payment system. We need to have an app so people can do it off their phone. We got to be able to take Venmo and other major credit cards without fees that we charge now. So that's what we're working on doing with this. So people are geared up, ready to move on that. We had a meeting this week. It's still a ways away from getting it in process, but it's something to really look forward to. And I think that's going to set us up leaps and bounds. Because why are people calling? They're having problems, whether they're having payment or all these other things. So once you take that away, you reimagine how customer service works. You know, we already are having people work from home. We've been able to more fully staff our customer service from that. And there's some people that can readily work from home and do the job. There's some that can't, based on their family conditions or whatever. So we're reimagining customer service.
And then I would like to give kudos to the gas crew on the transmission line that was hit. up on Northwest 43rd Street. My wife and I could smell it driving down 43rd, coming through our air conditioning. It was so strong, and I immediately called and said, no, we're on top of it. And so that was very good. And then also kudos to the guys going out there and doing the trimming. I saw them working, I'm sure it's a different term, but the goosenecks for the connections that come into the older homes. They were actually trimming some dead palm leaves from around there and everything. With storm season here, I was glad. I wish the homeowners would take more responsibility, but I also understand they don't want to get around those cables coming into their house. So
Right.
kudos to them. And great job. Still talking to the employees out there and think very highly of the work that we're doing and hoping that we can continue.
Thank you.
We got a great crew. We really have some great folks that work at GRU.
We now have director comments, if you have any more.
We're adjourned. Thank you.